The last hurricane of the season could form in the next several days in the Caribbean. Here to discuss the latest information that we have from overnight into this morning. Model guidance really beginning to light up again with the idea of this. And of course, if anything does develop in the Caribbean, it normally hits somebody. They normally don't just spin around on one location and then completely fizzle out or dissipate. It's got to go somewhere. So we need to figure this one out. We know the tropics can be quite weird this time of the year. So we'll go over all the latest info that we have, then we'll go over today's weather across the entire lower 48, and then we'll head off and enjoy the rest of our weekend. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning to make sure this is going to work, and it is. So this is the wave we're watching. It's been dubbed an Invest 98L, just basically still a tropical wave. The next named storm is... well, the next name is Melissa. So we might start to hear that a lot if you stay tuned with the weather a whole lot in the tropics and stuff like that. Melissa is the next name. So we're going to watch this wave as this, fully gets into the Caribbean over the next day. And then it will have a shot to develop somewhere into here between now and pretty much the foreseeable future. So this blob right here is what we're watching. This right here, blob of convection, shower, and storm activity. So let's continue to move past this. Let's go over the latest from the National Hurricane Center now. We're right at the fringe of a new update. Let's see if we got a new one. We do not, but I mean, a new update's going to drop in the next, probably anywhere from the next 5 to 30 minutes or so. It's technically called the 8 a.m. update. But this is last night's update around the 1:30 to 2 a.m. update. This now has a 50% chance to develop. It got bumped up from that 30 to that 40% chance yesterday. Now it's from a 40 to a 50%, and I could see this bumping up to a 60% chance of development between now and the next 7 days and the next update or two. So if it does switch and change, you're like, Mitch, this is old information. Trust me, I'm seeing the latest also. It's just I'm making the video as of around 7:34. Maybe I'll try to kind of jump back to this graphic at the end of this update on the tropics, but has a 50% chance to develop into a depression or our next named storm, Melissa. So that's that. Now let's go over all the model guidance that a lot of people probably want to see. So we're going to start off with Tuesday morning. If I forget to say the day of the week, time, things like that, look up here, TUE, Tuesday, October the 21st. So we're going to start off 48 hours from now. And you see this blob right here of green with splashes of yellow and orange and red in it. That is our tropical wave. Now I don't think this is going to develop between now and the next 2 days, but who knows? Anything can happen, right? But we continue to move forward here, and we get into Wednesday morning. It's still just a blob, and this is the Euro from overnight. We get into Thursday. This energy, I really think, begins to expand. So I've said this a couple times if you've been tuning in. I really think that this is going to be a big area of energy. A lot of moisture is going to get trapped down here. A very favorable environment for a lot of rising air, which allows for a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity. So a big plume of moist air is what I'm trying to say. So we get into Thursday, broad area low pressure. And then we get into Friday, kind of the same deal, right? You see an L down here. I mean, this doesn't look very scary at all, right? Now we start to get into Saturday morning, October the 25th, and it looks the same. But it's after around the day 7 time frame, day 6, when things start to change on the Euro, and this thing begins to consolidate, really organize, and we have 1,001 millibar low. It's definitely like I said, a large system, 990 at this point, and we're all the way to about the day 8 time frame next Monday, not tomorrow, next Monday, and then this starts to develop into an all-out hurricane about 8 to 10 days from now, around the central to western areas of the Caribbean. And as soon as it gets strong, it gains latitude. It gets north like most low pressures do. And then this comes up and then hits Cuba as a major hurricane like the last couple days of October. And it does what most tropical systems do in late October and sort of heads north and kind of north-northeast. And just climo-wise, this pattern that the Euro is showing pretty much screams this, right? So we don't want this to happen. This would bring significant impacts to Cuba, areas of the Greater Antilles. This would be a very large system. This would go right through areas of the Turks, Caicos Islands, the Bahamas, and then it would probably merge with some sort of trough. And things can get weird once they get off the coast of the eastern U.S. because we have troughs, we have things that can yank these systems in. Not going to sit here and say we're going to have a Hurricane Sandy, but there's been some weird runs reflecting weird stuff close to that, right? So, and when it gets to this time of the year, when you have just these troughs digging down, they can yank these systems back in. So we just got to watch this entire scenario and how it develops throughout the rest of this month, maybe into the first couple of days in November. So what about the GFS? Okay, Euro. The Euro has basically dragged this on a little bit more. It's later with the time. GFS wants to pop this off faster. So by the time we get into Wednesday morning of this week, we already have 1,003 millibar low. I want you to just kind of ignore what's going on down here. I don't believe that, but I could be dead wrong. But the GFS is flirted with the idea of a low pressure deep down here in the Caribbean. But let's focus our eyes in on this. 994 Thursday, then we're getting into Friday. It's all out strong hurricane just south of Hispaniola, and then it starts to get north and kind of stalls out, spins around in kind of an area as a category 1 or 2 hurricane and brings significant impacts if this is the way it plays out. Of course, it goes over the higher terrain of Hispaniola. Weekends, then it gets north and begins to strengthen again between day 7 and day 10, which is getting into early next week. And look how large this system is. Now, it looks like it's starting to head off back to the east, but that is a large system. Very large. And one would think that this would start to lose some of its tropical characteristics as it gets north, and we're just getting frequent blasts of drier, cooler air, even off the eastern seaboard. But this thing begins to head on off, and you can't say it isn't bothering anybody. I think a lot of people, and I get it, guys. I'm ready to talk about snow. Trust me. But I think a lot of people are like, dude, hurricane season's over. It's not over for the folks in the Caribbean. And I'm going to continue to talk about it. And we've seen some weird stuff even happen in the lower 48 in late October and early November. Ask Hurricane Sandy, right? Ask the Northeast. Ask the entire eastern seaboard what Hurricane Sandy did. So we have to watch these things that brew down here and then eject north. Euro AI model continues to take more of the conservative route. Weaker system we get into Wednesday of this week, Thursday. It gets it to about tropical storm status. And then it sort of does more so what the GFS does, except it's not crazy strong like the GFS. And the thing that I'm concerned about with Haiti, Dominican Republic is the slow nature of this system when it gets around those areas. And even if this is, say, a weak tropical storm with a higher terrain, a lot of lift up against the higher terrain, it would cause devastating flooding. But this thing kind of gets north just like the GFS and just meanders around and eventually just actually dissipates. So Icon, here it comes. We're getting into Wednesday. We're getting into Thursday. We're getting all the way into late Thursday night into Friday morning, and we have a developing tropical system in the Central Caribbean. And it looks like it's getting much further west than, say, the GFS and even the Euro AI models. This is right smack in the middle of the Central Caribbean. The thing that I'll note here as I go over all individual model runs is the further west this gets, the more trouble it brings to more people. So I want to throw that in there. The Canadian model, just kind of because I want to show you all model guidance, follows more so the Euro and gets this much further west and develops into a hurricane just about, and brings impacts and just kind of hangs out into the Western Caribbean, Central America, and then the very end of the run, it begins to get north as a very slowly strengthening tropical system. You don't want this thing to get this far, okay? We already know if this thing gets here and strengthens like some model guidance is showing, it's going to hit somebody. But if it gets here, it's going to hit more people. That's the scary thing about this system is this is going to get into the Caribbean. It's already beginning to right now. So the only hope here is that this thing just does not get its act together. But the Euro ensemble, of course, it's further west. So the members that do develop this system or in the process of developing, remember this makes up 51 members, is getting this much further west. So most of the members are in the Central or Southern Caribbean, and then they start to dance around. We start to get into next weekend. And they all just kind of begin to stall out, slow down, and some of the stronger members might try to get north, but and everything's just everywhere. And we get all the way to about day 10, and we're still talking about this. That's a 918 millibar low hurricane on one of these members. It's a category 5, and there's just a lot of clustering of strong tropical cyclones right into here. And I know you're thinking, well, I don't see any members coming up and hitting anybody. Well, I mean, this is just as far out as this run goes. If you actually extend this past day 10, which is kind of no man's land, right? It shows a lot of these members ejecting north as we get to the last couple days of October. I'm telling you guys, the longer we linger this around, of course, the more impact it's going to bring to folks in the Caribbean. But there is some signals at the end of October that points to a pretty chilly air mass. So there's that outlier scenario that I keep thinking of, that if we get anything that ejects north and then combines with some sort of cold air mass, we can get some weird weather that unfolds across the eastern U.S. Just saying, something weird can happen around Halloween, the 31st, the 1st of November. We just got to watch all of this. Things could get serious with this fast over the next several days. So, you look at the GFS ensemble from overnight, and normally it follows its operational run. A lot of clustering of members, more so in the eastern and central Caribbean, and a lot of them begin to cluster up and head north, and it really wants to bullseye Hispaniola and just south, and then some of the members do slip a little bit further west, but I mean, they're all just kind of dancing around. There's a lot of clustering of these members for a few day period that they don't move a whole lot. And then we look at the DeepMind Google Ensemble guidance, which is just something that significantly backed off yesterday morning, and now it's definitely upticked this morning, and it's kind of back to what it was showing a couple days ago. It shows this storm potentially kind of slowing down right into here and then kind of moving back northeast, and it really is staring down the Dominican Republic and Haiti and Hispaniola. You got to watch out in Jamaica, Cuba. But some of these members are straggling as very strong members further to the west. Some of them fully get picked up by some high wind shear and just westernly flow, and get slung back out into the Atlantic. And some of them just sort of hang out down here as strong, strong members. But if you look at the very end of the run, past day 10, these strong members begin to turn north. And you're going to see the please wait loading screen. This stuff right here that you're seeing here, those pink reddish little members here, these are category 4 or 5 hurricanes, or major hurricanes, category 3 or higher. You don't want to see that. So we got some figuring out to do with this. I'm telling you. Now, what supports tropical development down here? Your sea surface temperatures is like a bathtub down here, right? So, this is in Celsius, 30, 31 degrees Celsius. You convert that to Fahrenheit, that's mid to upper 80s. In some areas, the sea surface temperature might be 90 degrees. Caribbean is just a ticking time bomb of fuel for these tropical systems to really strengthen and certainly maintain themselves. And the next thing you look at is upper wind flow. These are winds at 200 millibars, 35, 40,000 feet up in the air. So our tropical system on the Euro, and I'm just going to show you the operational Euro run, is right here. Okay, you already got a lot of wind flow kind of being dispersed out, away from the system. Okay, that allows for a rising air pattern here. But there is some flow kind of working up against the system right here. So I do think the reason why the Euro really lags with development is because it has some of that westerly upper flow working against the system. So this allows for the center of the storm and kind of the eastern side of the storm to have a lot of moist air, but the western side is probably going to get blasted with some dry air first. That's at least what the Euro is showing. But as we move forward here, the environment begins to change. So now, as this system gets to, say, let's take it all the way to about right here. This gets to about the middle portion of this coming weekend. Got 1,004 millibar low. First off, I do want to note, let's make this a little bit bigger. I do want to note tons of wind shear up here. So if all this flow up here can just get a pull on this, then it's gonna pull north. Okay, but let's talk about the strength. All right, so you can see these lines with arrowheads embedded into them, and how the flow is going like this. It's kind of expanding outward, right? You can call that a ULAC, upper level anticyclones. Basically, when winds are dispersing anticyclonically on top of the system, on top of the actual cyclonic mid to low levels turn of the system. So what I'm trying to say is on top of the system, a lot of air is being dispersed outward. This allows for more air to rise as it's, the air is being dispersed away. It's immediately replaced with more air rising through. It's just like a ventilation cycle. It's things living and breathing. So if we got a consistent environment of rising air, it allows for a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity because that's what rising air does. Sinking air does quite literally the opposite. So this creates a moist environment. So the environment down here is very supportive for tropical development. And you can see it by the moist plume of air that really gets going as we get into this weekend. You can see just the entire Caribbean, just a blob of green, a lot of moist air down here. So you can check off all 3 boxes for tropical development. So warm sea surface temperatures, light wind shear, and then light wind shear leading to an environment that promotes convection, so which leads to a moist environment. So hope that helps. Let's talk about today's weather. Big storm system moving across the country with a lot of dry air. I mean, really just moving in immediately behind it. So you see all this rain right here moving into the eastern states. Immediately behind it, we got dry air shooting through. This will be our sharpest cold front of the season for a lot of people. And we'll talk more about that when I show you the eastern U.S. But some areas are already waking up to a very nice fall air mass. We got some moisture out west. Some of this is falling in the form of snow in the higher elevations. We didn't have the severe weather threat yesterday. Didn't hear anything too crazy, but I have a feeling we're going to end up having some confirmed tornadoes based off what I saw with the radar yesterday in some areas of like Arkansas, surrounding states. But watches, warnings, and advisories is what we're working with. Freeze warnings in this kind of dark purple color. This more muted purple color, winter weather advisories. We got some high wind warnings in this mustard color, I guess you would say. This tan, that's wind advisory. So strong winds working its way through. It's going to rip some of the leaves off the higher elevations of the mountains. So that's unfortunate, but I don't think it's going to shred all the leaves or anything like that if you're a big fall weather fan with the fall and the colorful leaves like I am. But got some red flag warnings up here in the interior northeast. But in general, let's hope that this rain can make it up there and kind of take out that. But severe weather chances for today. There's a marginal risk across the entire mid-Atlantic and portions of the upper southeast. So we'll watch out for some severe weather here. Severe weather chances this morning and early this afternoon in southern Alabama, the panhandle of Florida. Tornado threat is at a 2% risk for the southern mode of this and the northern mode. So New York City, the entire state of New Jersey, areas of Long Island, northern Delaware, I mean, eastern PA, 2% risk of a tornado today. So it's interesting there. So be careful. And then excessive rainfall, not seeing much, if anything. So a lot of this, the motion of all this action is pretty fast, not going to just kind of stay in one area. But this is what the radar could look like today. Some thunderstorms will have more of the severe ingredients with them in the panhandle of Florida, southern Alabama this morning, getting even into southern Georgia. But I do think this begins to dissipate. Could get a strong to severe thunderstorm in northern Florida today. And we're just going to have some broken up energy moving through the Carolinas. A lot of areas in the Carolinas are starting to get into a nasty drought. So it stinks that this front looks to completely fizzle apart. The front doesn't. The moisture associated with it, I should add, does. But some much needed rain up in West Virginia will fall, but we're going to have to get some thunderstorms with it. And then this dry air sweeps in immediately behind this, and we're going to have some showers overnight into the eastern Carolinas, eastern Virginia, and just the tide water. And then this heads off, and we're going to wake up to another bright sunny day tomorrow. Up here in the northeast, we got a lot of energy moving through. By the time we get into this evening, you see these thunderstorms working its way through into the mid-Atlantic. And it's interesting to me that it doesn't show much action in this 2% risk area of a tornado until really later tonight. I mean, this action doesn't really move in until like well after midnight, but it does show some pretty intense thunderstorms in the southern tier of New York, Finger Lakes region, northern PA. We got some thunderstorms up here in northern New York. And then we're going to wake up tomorrow morning with just a big old cold front with storms and heavy rain associated with it. We need the rain up here. So we're going to get some rain in areas of the interior New England region that really need it. This is going to blow a lot of stuff around. We're going to be some strong winds associated with it, but we are going to get some heavy, fast falling rain up here, especially tomorrow morning, really more so tomorrow. I do want to show you, look how sharp this cold front is. And once again, this is dew points, not temperatures. But look how quickly this moist air mass, like down here in the southeast, is replaced with a very dry air mass again. And the theme this entire week coming up is just going to be a lot of reinforcing cold fronts. But boom, that blast through. And this cold front's going to make it all the way into northern Florida. And some of our driest air of the season will move in, leading to some of the coolest air of the season. So that's a pretty cool GIF there, if you will. But we get into this afternoon in south central U.S., high pressure dominating. It's dry. There's nothing going on as the front has moved through. Quieter day compared to yesterday. And then waking up this morning to some rainy conditions across the upper Midwest for areas like lower Michigan and just the further east you get. In the Great Lakes region, the rain will hang around more, but then we'll get some shower activity embedded in this trough that could swing through into the UP and Michigan. Starting to get some lake effect energy, just not enough cold air with these cold fronts yet. But we'll wake up tomorrow morning with another system starting to fly through, but nothing active in this area of the country. The western U.S., energy swinging back through. Higher elevation snow, lower elevation rain up here. Nothing too crazy, enough to prompt some winter weather advisories in the higher terrains of the northern Rockies, but nothing wild at all. Temperatures today, it'll be a big warm up ahead of this cold front. You can tell where the cold front is, right? Chilly conditions all the way down to Middle Tennessee. So where you get this cold front and behind it, it'll be a nice fall-like day, almost chilly. Ahead of it, it'll be warm, a nice warm surge of air. So if you're a big warm weather fan, enjoy today because cold front is on the way. Enjoy today because the cold front's on the way. I like that. But this is out west. This is what we're looking at. Chilly conditions up there. And let's round the video off by giving you an update on the tropics. And yeah, they bumped it up to a 60% chance. So I figured that was going to happen. I tried to catch the update. Looks like they updated it about 7 to 8 minutes ago. So now we're up to a 60% chance. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day. And we'll continue to watch the tropics. Listen, I get it. A lot of people are like, dude, I'm sure I can almost read people through the comments sometimes. And I can tell, like, they're probably thinking, some people are probably thinking, man, this guy's really just milking the tropics here to get clicks and views. I'm telling you, y'all can think that until the cows come home. But I'm telling you, this needs to be watched. And not just for the Caribbean, but it needs to be watched on down the road, too, as we get later into the month. I'm telling you, some weird stuff has happened when we get energy off the coast of the eastern U.S. It's not as easy sometimes to just get pushed out to sea as you think. Sometimes things can yank this stuff back in, and we just got to watch this for everybody, okay? We're almost through it, guys. We're almost through hurricane season. We just got to I really think this might be our last hurrah with hurricane season. But we got to figure it out. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk again tomorrow morning.